Good morning.
Morning, Pam. How are you?
Good. I just hate to wait to the last minute because if something happens, I just want to be able to make sure I'm on, you can hear me and all is good. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We have the helicopter meeting right before this. So that's got to end. I got to get everything organized and then start this one up.
No, it's no problem. It's just, you know, me and technology.
Yeah.
Good morning, my peeps.
Good morning.
Morning, David.
I guess we should say that we're your peeps, Pam.
No, we're all in this together.
I don't want to be rude, so I'll say good morning too.
Nice bright red shirt.
Hides my hypertension.
So was anybody as shocked as I was to get that call from the state? Boom. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
they sat on it so long, it's hard to believe that they actually remembered they had it on their desk.
well, and I think they're trying to clean up old stuff, you know, and you know, it's a thing where I was like, I had to pull all that stuff back up again. Thanks God for David. David had files that were quicker than mine. I was like sorting through, you know, because it's a lot. It was pre-COVID we started.
Yeah. 2019 is, I think, my first file from
Yeah.
Supersonic.
Yeah. And really with Greenville, we had started the little write-up thing even before that, actually in 2018, I think.
Yeah.
But really didn't get it really going until 2019 and then
Mhm.
Pam, I'll work with Todd to get some of that stuff done on the list that we need to get done for it.
yeah, really the only two things, and we'll talk about it here this morning, is really that pictorial thing they want. I wrote it all down, you know, that I sent you guys.
Okay.
They would like to have some kind of like protocol graphic to insert onto their website. The application form y'all already did, or Todd already did. So we just made a couple, Dr. Daly suggested a couple of changes there. So that's already even done.
Yeah, we've added a few things to that also to try to get it down to one sheet with the collaborative agreement and the application on the same sheet. And that seems to be pretty good. Jeff has been working on that. We also had Peter Brody on the phone today, and we're going to discuss how to collect the data that we need from everybody so we have it all.
Great. Yeah, and just to compile it in one place, right? So it's not all over the place, and then we have it organized. I agree.
So we're going to have a little bit of a discussion with that. So when we get into that, anyway. We're up to 13 people now.
Okay, so I'll wait one more minute. We'll go right on the button.
But I'm not sure we have a quorum yet. Looking at
Yeah.
that.
Again, I can hold off on the minutes till we do.
Yeah.
Hello, Dr. Ashad.
Hey, team.
So,
Good morning, it's Dr. Spano from Garnet Health.
What's your name again?
You know me. Good morning, everybody.
So I think there's 7. Because this, oh, is this Jeff? You're Jeff, not Jeff Ravenage? I was thinking it was Jeff.
yeah, that's probably.
I thought it was my Jeff. Sorry. No worries. I'll just wait on the minutes. Just keep watching and we'll make sure. Okay, it's 9:30, everybody. Let's respect everyone's time and bring the meeting to order. We don't have a full quorum yet, but I'm sure people will call in and log on. So we'll hold on the review of the minutes till then so we can vote on them. Thank you all for being on this morning. I don't want anyone to faint, but under old business, we got follow-up on the supraglottic project. I got this email and call from Dave and Bill last week that the state wanted to meet with me, and it was great. It actually was such a good meeting. You know, as we all have spoken about many times, we started this in 2019 with Greenville, and you know, presented it to our REMAC and brought it forward to the state. And David's been so kind to bring it to training and education, and with all the committee members and such. So it's really garnished a lot of interest. So it's definitely moving forward. It's only a couple things they wanted to see before we launch it off. A few things I'll highlight. One is they want it to be a statewide project so that anybody who qualifies can jump on and become part of the supraglottic airway process, and start the, you know, performing the procedure once they are up and running. So that statewide project, though, is definitely only going to be offered to certified ambulance services that are, you know, under a medical director, are EPCR qualified and, you know, hooked into the system. They're not going to just give it to first responders or anybody out there, because then we wouldn't have control over what happens and keeping up with the testing and the skills assessment. So it's going to be those criteria. Right now in our area, we have Greenville, Pine Island, Warwick, Town of Newburgh, Montgomery, Monroe, and Port Jervis that have expressed interest in the program. There is a nice, as you saw, I don't know if you guys remember, maybe I should send it back out to you, the PowerPoint presentation for both the didactic portion in training and then a psychomotor skills assessment training with a evaluation sheet. We will, one of the things they asked was for it first to go to the regional REMAC of each area. They look at it, they state whether they think that agency in their area is capable and fits the criteria for joining the project. Then they will vote on it and send it to us in the Hudson Valley with an application process, which we've already made. And then we will add them onto the program. The way they would like the didactic training to be sent out would be, as we had mentioned initially, through a video process. So both, luckily, we have Dr. Fassan and Ashard in our area, who's like the king of these processes. And we're going to work on an ability to do this. And I don't know, Ashad, do you want to tell everybody about your fellowship too and how we'll try to link that in?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Faizan Arshad, representing Vassar Brothers and the Hudson Valley in general. So we started a residency program in emergency medicine 2 years ago. We're interviewing for our third year class, and at the same time are spinning up several fellowships, including sports medicine, point of care ultrasonography, and emergency medical services. So we are hoping to help augment, participate in this process by designing some of the educational materials, and then ultimately collecting data and putting this forward as a peer-reviewed publication prospectively in regards to implementing the process, the pilot, the educational initiatives and pieces on the rollout, and then ultimately sort of, you know, collecting data to see how this might, you know, alter patient outcomes. So that's just kind of a broad strokes, but as part of the EMS fellowship, we're of course, you know, looking to increase the academic activity using some of the regional data sets. So if you guys have any other ideas, I'm definitely open and willing to hear them if we can help.
And one of the things that's going to be important, Fazan, is that by opening it statewide, we're going to get some good statistics. Like usually some of these projects, and I'm going to talk about one later that was, presented at CMAC. They don't get enough numbers. And so it takes a long time to generate any kind of real true evaluation of whether it's worthwhile or not. So this should be better, because what we can do is include all these agencies around the state. Now, a couple requests they had, besides making the didactic training standard in a Zoom that we could do for everybody, they want a protocol graphic that they want to put on their website, the state website, which David, Todd, and myself will work on. They wanted an application form, which is already done. And then what we'll do is just guide them with how the training will roll out, kind of like a flow chart of how it'll work. They do want us to capture and bring back all the information. So is Jeff on? Jeff, I saw your empty chair before, but what I'd like to do is make that, if everybody's in agreement, our 2022 QI project for the Hudson Valley. This way we collect all the numbers from all around and we bring it forward with, a evaluation, which the tool we already have, to use and determine the feasibility and the likelihood of this making some impact. So that's where we are. We are finally moving along. And so, I wanted to bring that to you guys this morning.
Hey, Pam, I have a quick question. You had said earlier that this was for certified ambulance services. What about ALS first response agencies or BLS first response agencies that are certified?
As long as they're certified and they have a medical director and they're in the EPCR system, they just didn't want first responders who are out there without the connectivity and the backup. As you know, Dave, there are so many volunteer agencies across the state, and we don't even know half of them what they do, and do they even have a medical director? So that was their fear. They want to make sure that these are connected agencies, they're New York State certified, and that they have that, medical direction and connectivity. One, we have to get the data back. Two, we have to evaluate everybody. Three, we want to make sure they're on the same page with our educational process. So all that's really important.
I just wanted to make sure we could participate.
I'll always let you participate.
Thank you.
Oh, David, maybe you could do that for me while I'm being a loudmouth talking here. Can you send the PowerPoint and the psychomotor skills? Send that out to everybody just so they can see it one more time.
I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you so much. Any other questions about the supraglottic pilot program? So all's good. We're moving along and it's real now.
Hey, Jeff, is there anything that we need to discuss about the data collection?
Well, might just as well do that right now. Obviously, collecting data from our region is not going to be an issue. We're also working on tweaking a CQI form for any calls with the use of an SGA. Collecting data from across the state, it's potentially a challenge, but I have Peter Brody here from the state who has tacitly agreed to help at least parse the data so that we will be getting everything that is inputted. Peter, if you could speak on that, that'd be great.
Sure. Morning, Dr. Murphy. Congratulations. I remember when you presented this at CMAC,
Yeah.
and then that handy little virus attacked our state, and then everything in the world stopped. So this is outstanding news for you. What I'd like to do is just arrange a time offline with you and whoever from the CMAC that you'd like me to talk about exactly what it is you're going to be looking for, so that we're still protecting. As you know, my job is to protect the privacy of the patients we serve as well. So I want to make sure that we're getting you the data that you need in a format that's viable for you to be able to do this, and then we'll be able to sign a data use agreement between Hudson Valley and New York State that will allow you access to that.
Perfect. Perfect.
The commissioner's approval makes it very easy to get that DUA done, but we want to make sure that we're sharing just the information that you need. so that we're appropriate in that regard. And there are ways that we can work on making sure the patient, PII and whatever non-relevant PHI is masked for you.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that, one of the things we're going to put up front, Peter, is that to be part of this project, they have to be vetted by their local REMAC, and also they have to be someone that has participated before, given the information before, and really been dedicated to complete the quality improvement forms and really process all the data we need. So those are going to be criteria in there so that we make sure from the get-go we have, the right people on board.
Oh, absolutely. My original plan for today was to drive to the Hudson Valley and torment Jeff and Bill for part of the day. And then tomorrow I have a meeting in Poughkeepsie, but we are receiving more FEMA assets later this week. So my staff is here because we're working remotely. We're here in my town and prepping for that. So that kind of trumped that. May also trump my trip to Poughkeepsie tomorrow too, but we'll take care of that at a separate time.
Excellent.
But we look forward to working with you. So we'll find a time where we can get together and go through everything soup to nuts all in one place, if that works for you. And we're happy to come down to see you.
Perfect.
I like to get in my car.
That's perfect. Perfect collaboration. Thank you so much, Peter.
My pleasure.
Correct.
And thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'll be off to get ready for our next deployment.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or concerns? All righty then, hearing none. Bill, I think we have a quorum now.
I only count 7, so
7's a quorum.
8's a quorum. According to what I have here, 8 should be a quorum.
You got Dr. Cohen on there, Dr. Mao,
Yes,
Dr. Greenhut,
yes.
Dr. Spano, too?
I have him here because he did introduce himself.
Okay.
And then it's you, Mark, and
Three.
Casey.
I hereby designate David Violante to be Dr. Violante today.
Oh, there's somebody else.
Yeah, Steve.
We have a caller, 570-3227. Are you a physician or who's that on that line? All right, well,
That's me, Dennis. Pam, that's me, Dennis, on 3227.
okay, great. Thank you, Dennis. So the minutes were included in your packet, and I reviewed them. They're pretty brief and short and to the point. I didn't see any additions, corrections, or deletions that needed to occur. And if I can have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And a second? Dr. Papish, where are you?
He's muted, but I will second that motion.
Second. Sorry, I was having trouble hitting the button.
I know. I just learned a trick that if you do, because this happens to me all the time, if you press the space bar, it immediately brings it up for you. I didn't know that, but it allows you to go off mute. Thank you, everybody. So SLAM's advisory and training update. David or Michael, anything to add on there?
The only thing that I'll add is that we still have one component that needs to be completed, and that is a process at the regional level for making the designations for the regionally approved provisional statuses, and then how we're going to track that and make that available so that the providers know who is at what level.
So in terms of the stroke centers, you mean, whether they're primary, comprehensive, in that, where is that information kept and where is it updated? Because that's the one problem I see is that, like NIAC, was it NIAC who just sent us a letter to indicate that they had, Danbury, sorry, Danbury just sent us a letter indicating that they have the ability to do the endovascular treatment. So, you know, again, I think that's going to be one of the problems, Michael, with this whole process is I'm not sure where we're going to have an updated list that's accurate. And I don't know, it's going to be tough, I think.
So,
When do
right,
we
so that's
get-
what we have to do. Where the state has made it a designation, you know, based on their approval, that's on the state list. We have decided at the regional level that it's going to be, you know, that they can do it based on regional approval for provisional status. And so that's the list that we need to maintain and then decide, you know, and who's going to make that decision, say, yes, now this person has met these qualifications, their name can go up on that list. So that's the process that this group needs to decide on.
Mr. Hutchinson, I see your hand up.
Yes, ma'am. I am actually covering for Dr. Ron Santos. He's a little tardy at the moment because he's been held up. But as in regards to SLAMs, none of us on the Connecticut border seem to have access to we're not on the list that is given to the EMS. So we are a primary stroke center, as Danbury is more than that, and Norwalk as well. So I spoke with Dave the other day, and he thought it would be a good idea to at least bring this subject up while you're in the middle of the process, and perhaps all of the ones on the border. I mean, we're literally 4 miles away from Armenia. So if the EMS on the New York side are going by the list that the New York Health Department has put out, then we would be invisible to them. Anyway, that's the plea. So, thank you.
Yes, because when we get the letter from Danbury, I also was I had no idea Danbury was able to do endovascular interventions. And what I brought up was, you know, crossing state lines. It's always interesting when you bring a patient with New York insurance to Connecticut. Not that EMS has to care, we need to get them to treatment, but down the road and on the discharge and on the back end, that's what I have to look after now in one of my new roles. So it is something to look at, but I think we all need to know, because absolutely getting someone to, with a large vessel occlusion, getting someone to an endovascular center is the key as quickly as possible. So we'll have to have some more conversations on that and somehow figure how we integrate that. You know, I'll pass that to Michael and David and the committee that we can come up with some kind of solution that works for everybody, I think. Were you going to say something, Dr. Papish?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I imagine the process would be somewhat similar to STEMI centers and trauma centers, in that we send out a regional notification as each facility, you know, like comes on board. And then just because it's new, probably quarterly, we should just maybe send an update of what's available, you know, the list of the centers that we do have. And that would keep people, at least, you know, for the first year, informed of what's going on. But we can work out the details in committee and then come up with a plan.
Well, thank you all very much for your consideration. It will be very helpful to get people to the nearest place. So thank you very much. I'll pass it along to Dr. Santos.
Ultimately, too, it probably needs to end up in the app, because this needs to be a decision that the field provider needs to make, you know, at the time they're in the field. So somehow we need this information, you know, at the provider level.
Yeah, that's a good point, that we put it into the collaborative worksheet there that tells you the sites and the centers for each one of these interventions. What we can do, we can also, Michael, pose the question to Dr. Daly, and also be able to, you know, take it from that avenue also, because I agree, being on the app will be a much more facilitated process for them to be able to look up quickly, boom, this is who has it, and they can go from there. The one problem is going to be is updating it and keeping the information current. That's the only place, again, where it comes back to that I see a potential problem. But they can always call medical control and ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments about SLAMs and our SLAMs and our advisory training and such?
I do.
Just be
I
interesting
do-
to know from a regional perspective how that's going. How are we doing with numbers, Bill and Jeff?
Well, my first one is on the hospitals. we have several hospitals that have not done any rollouts at all to the physicians. We have no record of the physicians taking the exam. I think we have 2 hospitals that way. We only have 1 hospital that is 100% completed, which is Good Samaritan Hospital in Suffolk. Everybody else has some. They range from 1 in a hospital to 12 in a hospital. So we're moving, but we were kind of hoping to have a little bit more done by now at the physician level. The provider level, we have quite a few providers done, but we still have a lot more to do. Jeff, do you have the number of completed providers?
We've had approximately 3,500 providers go through the training. Unfortunately, that only yields about 2,600 that have actually passed. Putting the certificates out has been an issue because the app was a $3.99 application, and it acts just like one. So we're limited to 100 certificates a day. One of the other things that we have run into is people that pass may retake it and retake it and retake it until they get a perfect score, which means they've eaten up 5 or 6 certificates for the day. So that's an issue. At some point in time, everyone that has passed will get a certificate. It just may take a little time.
Aaron also updates the Hudson Valley portal several times a week with all of the ALS providers that have taken the exam and have passed it. So any agency at the ALS level can look into the portal, and within a day or two, they will see that their providers are listed in there as taken the SLAMs and passed the test.
Would,
All right.
would it be
Question?
possible to periodically send out a list of who's outstanding, or, you know, from the medical control side, or just a list of who's completed it, if that's easier? And then, you know, our respective places, I can go back and find out who hasn't done it and get it done.
Okay, we will work on that, see if we can do that periodically for you.
I
Jeff,
do
you
send a
said that-
spreadsheet weekly to Brett in Westchester so he can track his providers and physicians. So
Jeff, you indicated that 3,500 providers in the region have taken the program.
well, between us, Westchester, and physicians, yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea like what kind of percentage that is? Do we know how many paramedics and EMTs are actively working in the Hudson Valley region?
No, not a clue.
Okay.
It's totally true. We expect it to be probably around 9,000 should be our total of providers.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks guys for the update. So next is service upgrades. I have 2 upgrades. I have Danscomer Energy started a pad site, and Unionville Fire Department added on CPAP, both within the last 2 months. I have, I'm gonna read the citations right now. There's only one. The Department of Health put out a citation against Lisa Stizak. She lives in Syracuse, New York. And it's a violation of Part 800, assessed a civil penalty of $5,000. And the individual certification was revoked as of February 10th, 2022. Evaluation and subcommittee report, Dr. Arshad?
That, I can't believe it took me 2 years to learn that spacebar key. That's huge. There were a couple of things that were brought to our attention. I think Dr. Murphy was involved in some of that related to social media, but no formal cases for review. Dr. Murphy, I know you feel passionately about it, do you think it's a good time to just talk about general admonitions for social media in EMS?
Yeah, please. If you could start the conversation, we can open it up to the whole committee.
It was the basic premise is always we want clear lines of communication between EMS personnel and the receiving centers, the emergency departments, and the hospital administrations. There may be certain instances where there may be a misperception or in communication or handoff that results in some ruffled feathers. And general advice being is always maintain and be cautious and err on the side of professionalism rather than airing and voicing any frustrations or perceived misperceptions out on social media. We always want to advocate, just kicking things through the appropriate chain of command, encouraging healthy dialogue, and outwardly we want our personnel to, just make sure that we're public facing. We want to put out the message of strong teamwork between pre-hospital and the hospital side.
Thank you, Dr. Ashad. I think, it really is social media is there forever, guys. Once you post something and put something out there, it doesn't go away. And I think that we just have to be careful. One of the things, from both a HIPAA perspective and from a compliance issue, depending upon where you're employed, is huge. So I think, we all need to reach out, talk to someone, discuss things. We can always solve problems, but I don't think it ever helps to do it in that fashion, as Dr. Ashad eloquently said. Any comments? All right, not hearing any. On to helicopter committee report, Dr. Larson or Dr. Stu Miller. Did I see them on here?
No, Dr. Stimiller apologizes. He's probably going through airport security at this point in time, and he did ask Steve to do an update for him.
Good morning, everyone. Steve Scully from LifeNet. Two brief updates for you. The Assembly bill, there's a new Assembly bill on the governor's desk related to further regulations on the new air medical access to blood. No immediate changes expected there, and we'll keep you posted with any developments. And we will have the Q1 data to present at the next meeting.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Steve. That's perfect. I appreciate you pinch hitting. One of the things that's good is that we keep that line of communication open and that we, provide and exchange that information really both from, the helicopter committee to the ground units and to all the agencies involved. Thank you again. Next on the agenda is RTAC. I don't think there was a meeting, right? Bill, I don't think there was one.
No, there hasn't been.
Okay, so I'm going to table that. Quality improvement report, Mr. Kutcher.
Okay, other than what we've already covered, I had a meeting last week with Becky Orman and John Nowinski from Garnet regarding stroke data. They had a couple of questions on how the data was coming to them and a couple of fields that they aren't able to fill immediately in accordance with what they need to cover from the AHA. So we talked through a couple of solutions for that, and we'll see how that works out. Been getting data requests from individual agencies and trying to fulfill those as quickly as possible, given the parameters that they give us. Beacon was asking for just over 2 years worth of data. We supplied that this morning. Just basically general, what the call was, date, time, etc. Just a generic data dump. We're working on a better method of getting data out to individual agencies so that they can request specific reports that we can either build or what we have already built and simply need to modify for their needs and then can run them on a regular basis as they need them. And that's about it.
All right. Thank you,
Hey,
Jeff.
Pam.
For,
Go ahead.
question for Jeff. Jeff, just on the SLAM stuff, I know there was some previous discussion with regards to the SLAM score. Do you see any progress or any opportunities to collect the SLAM score as part of electronic reporting? And is that a conversation you've had with Peter?
It depends on what platform you're using. Obviously, if you're using something that they can write custom interfaces for, like Zoll, you can have that built in. ESO, I'm not sure if there's a workaround in that or not. I believe that in a lot of the programs, there is a checkbox for other stroke score. But as of now, that's not really a state standard that will come up in a future schematron update, and will certainly be addressed when we start looking at NEMSIS 3.5 in January of 23. But you are able to import the data, well, not import, but input the data, at least in the narrative, for, I think, every other program. It shouldn't overall be a huge problem once we get there.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be beneficial because it certainly sounds like we're going to be sticking with SLAMs for a while, and maybe once others see that this area is doing it, that may go across the state, and then maybe it can be part of the state update. Thank you.
Hey, Pam, if I could add in.
Absolutely.
As you all know, I'm on the quality metrics committee, and we've been really looking at data across the state and across the regions. And we're looking at a product called Biospatial as a way to have a dashboard for agencies. And I imagine that would work for hospitals as well, to really look at data and trends of data over some time. We currently have all of the data in image trend now, and for some places that data actually does go into the hospital, but we are just not getting data back out from the hospital to providers. That's one of the next big things that we really want to continue working on. I know everybody here has been hearing us talk about this for, good Lord, probably 9 or 10 years or more. But we're looking at getting dashboard reporting out of image trend from other regions to be able to also then use around the state and, of course, in this region. And Jeff has had some really good work to that end of some of the quality measures across the state that we do look at, and that he's been able to trend out. And so that's information we can get as well. Some of the other things that they talked about, which may be really interesting for this group too, are ways to look at data that could show the health of the system overall, and looking at what those measures might in fact be, and to trend them and have some sort of precursors as to when things may be going downhill for whatever reasons. And so we're looking at those things too. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, David. All right. Protocol committee, Mr. Beninati.
I have no other business. Thank you.
Well, that's a first. Really, right?
Well, you handled it all. We had a Superglottic and we had SLAM.
Yeah,
So that was
yeah.
our two big projects. And you
Yeah.
gave us some assignments, so we've got those for the next time.
Yep, and we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of what we have for the Superglottic Airway project already. CMAC report, I'm going to jump down to that. So CMAC met in January, and we had a pretty robust meeting. The one thing that happened at standards, we talked about a bunch of protocols that had to come forward. One was on the viral pandemic protocol, and there was a lot of discussion because people were making it, specific to COVID, but really what we thought is it should just be a viral pandemic protocol, because then we don't have to change it if there's another pandemic down the road, God forbid, right? But we discussed the whole process that we need to make it really a true protocol for all viral cases. So there was a few things that went through. We figured that, we needed the protocol. There was some question brought up, should we even put something through at this late a date? However, as I said, it really belongs to any viral process that comes down. So it was approved and voted on, and it was brought forward to CMAC, along with some other protocols from around the state, optimization of pediatric seizure treatment, and also there was a bunch of discussion regarding using buprenorphine in ED across the state. That's a program that's put out by New York State Department of Health, and really a process of training that a physician can take, which has actually become quite easy. Before it was a little bit more, but now it's really quite easy. And we're talking about really a process that we encourage more physicians to do on the emergency medicine side, because we really can make an impact when these patients come in with use and abuse and overdoses. There was a proposed motion to talk about geriatric and really teleconsults. However, we felt it came from the LREMS district, and what we felt is it really needs to stay there, that it should be a motion that's done at the regional level. It didn't really need to come to CMAC, so it's going to be brought back and revised there. In addition, there was a couple of things that came forward regarding some compression devices. Also, a process that really doesn't need to be done at the CMAC level. And we conducted, that these devices exist and there's no problem with people using them. And we would not ever, say that we define one type of product over another, that there's so many devices that exist. We would not name it by brand name and allow people to use the product. Dr. Cooper brought up some business about the Emergency Services Committee for Children, and under new business, they talked about overcrowding and EMS wait times. It really was around the state, people who brought up some pretty demonstrative wait times. And Dr. Doynow, talked about really we need to move forward in the best we can and trying to make it so that we can get ambulances turned around, but they realize how tough it is. And at that time, upstate was really being hit with the Omicron variant. So it was quite remarkable, some of the wait times. They did have a product protocol, a system director from Suffolk talk about his RSI program he had been doing out in Suffolk. I have to tell you, it was a very long presentation. He actually went through the entire process, but it was really just something we moved forward, that he finished the assessment of it, and that how it had done. They had a total of the system out there is large. It's like over 5,000 agencies. And over that time, in the 10 years they've been doing this, was 500 RSI. So just so you know, some of these things drag out. That's why I was saying in terms of numbers, hopefully we're going to do a lot quicker with our supraglottic airway. That was about it. I can't think of anything else. David or Mike from SEMSCO, do you have anything you think you want to add or anything? Those were the bullet points that came from the January meeting.
The only other thing I would add is that the Mountain Lakes region sent out an advisory that the state thought potentially was more of a protocol, and it went sort of back and forth, and it ended up being very clear that the regions, the REMACs and the REMSCOs, do have the authority per Article 30 to be able to send out those things and did not overstep their bounds in any way, shape, or form. And so I think that was an important discussion point as well.
Yeah, I think, what happened, guys, just the backstory to that is Mountain Lakes region sent out some advisories and some not protocol, but things that they thought were important to communicate to their region. And they were kind of told that it should be going through CMAC, but we all discussed this and felt, as David just said, it should be staying at the regional level. And absolutely, it's under their purview to do that. And we do it all the time. So, we kind of cemented that that signal of that this is something that belongs at the regional level and should stay there because we should govern what really happens in our regions. And we provide what medical oversight needs to occur and what is appropriate and what was not. Thank you, David. So under new business and open forum, anybody has anything they want to bring forward this morning?
Dr.
David?
Murphy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that Dr. Santos has come into the meeting so that we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Murphy, Rich Parrish.
Hi, Rich.
How you doing today?
Good.
Back in early February, I sent out an email to all the REMAC physicians. Diaz is planning a CME day on May 21st and looking for physicians to do a 1-hour presentation. Dave Jansen has assisted me with some the EM physicians have lined up to help present at that, but still looking for a couple more. And if you can get back to me and let me know if you're interested. It's on May 21st. It starts at 9 o'clock. Go to 1700. Looking, like I said, an hour presentation each. It's going to be up in the Saugerties area. We have room for about 125, 150 attendees.
Thank you, Rich. Sorry, I should have put that on the agenda. I forgot about that message you sent out. That should have been in there. I apologize. So anybody who has any interest and could help out Diaz, that would be great for their CME project on May 21st. David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just have a couple other items for everybody. The state extended the New York State certifications by another year. And so those are all available on the health commerce system for agencies to be able to download new certifications for their folks. I have no idea what they're going to do about cards. I imagine they're going to go back to printing cards out. I'm really not sure, but agencies and medical directors and folks can check out whether someone's certified or not on the health commerce system. CLI and CICs have a little bit of a change for their educational process. For CICs, they take the NAMSI course instead of having a statewide course. So the region will not be any longer putting on CIC courses. And for CLI programs for education, there's a statewide program, and it looks like NAMSI also has a skills program that they may be changing to. So that may change for us a little bit as well at the program agency regional level. So there's two questions that I have that come up for open forum out of that a little bit. One is not related, the other one is. What would this body like to do about REMAC credentialing, since it's on a 3-year plan, I believe, or unless it's on a certification cycle, but it's a certain number of hours per certification cycle. I don't know if that changes now with these extensions or what that looks like or what this body would like to do about those changes, but we've fielded a lot of questions about what do I need to do now? That's question one. I'll follow up with the other question if you want to discuss that or come up with something first.
In the last extension, we extended to the state ending on their paramedic card or their ALS card. So without adding any requirements to it. So at that point in time, they had a 4-year card with the 3-year obligation of medical control hours. Now there'll be some people that will have a 5-year card. And that's really what the question is. Do we want to retain what we had, or do we want to, add time for that medical control hour requirements on that code?
So I think that, people can think about this, but I think medical control contact hours are important. I'm not sure, does that cause a lot of trouble to try to track it, Bill? Is it add on like a lot of, busy work that you have to fetch after this stuff?
Yes. I mean, but it's normally is a lot of work. We have to track a lot of people. We have to tell them when they're expiring. We have to remind the agencies that they have to get the application packet back to us on the renewals to make sure that they have all the CMEs that are required for the renewals. The portal does help a little bit if the agencies use them, because they can look on the portal and they can see what each provider is missing. But a lot of times they depend on Karen going through everything and sending out the information, and she keeps track of it on pretty much a monthly basis, and it takes several days out of a month to do that.
So for all the physicians on the line, I think we need to, make sure we weigh in on this whole medical control contact hours. I think it's always been important. Dr. Arshad, I don't know if you've really weighed in on it recently, but I think that Dr. Papish, we've discussed this many times at protocol committee. But I think, anybody on the REMAC, has an ability to talk about these issues. But I think we always felt that the medical control contact hours were important. It's just hard when we talk about keeping track of it all, obtaining the information, and making sure people meet the criteria. We were trying to have it done at the agency level so that they provided us with their staff that completed the process and fulfilled the requirements. But that also becomes hard sometimes because people move so much. Any thoughts?
I have a highly futuristic thought that's definitely years away from prime time, but I am working on an NFT project that is going to be a digital passport that you can upload your credentials to. And it's essentially going to be using blockchain technology to think about a lot of the current merit badges that are expiring and reminders, etc., and should theoretically be able to scrape data and automate that process. But we're years away from that. But I'm excited about blockchain technology and NFTs in general.
Arshad, can I buy those tokens on Robinhood?
Do not mess around with Robinhood. Robinhood will only get you into trouble. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I just had one other thing if you're done with that discussion.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. We are currently facing a bit of a medication shortage here. And if you look online, everything from atropine to vecuronium, which includes all the B's, C's, D's, E's, F's, L's, and everything else in between, is on back order, not available, or some problem therein. And I think agencies are having a variety of issues in different areas depending on their own supply chain and if they've been with a company for a long time or not, and whether it's available to them or not. So part of the process that we have to follow then, according to policy 1304, is to notify the region, come up with some alternatives, have the impact of the REMAC, and then let the state know what we would like to do. And so things like calcium chloride we can't get, but maybe calcium gluconate might work, I don't know. Normal saline is available in a variety of ways, but not always the most either the easiest way or the best way. And so potentially using Ringer's lactate, those different kinds of things. I know for some meds, there are alternates. I certainly will not pretend to know what all of those things are in any way, shape, or form, whether Mike wants to call me a doc for this or not.
So, yeah, and it's really quite prolific, those lists now. I was on a call this morning with the pharmacy and saline, it's like crazy how it's becoming an issue, and a bunch of medications. So, I think because it changes so much and it happens so quickly. Dr. Papish, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this. I think that at one point what we had done was say we could use viable options for alternative medications and fluids when feasible. And there was going to be some times that people had expired meds in their box, and what were we going to do? I don't know if you had, because I sent back an answer. I forget who sent this to me. Was it you, Dave, or somebody sent it to me? So I sent back an answer, but I didn't hear anything. Mark, what do you think about that?
We all know that medications don't really expire. They do, but over there's probably a multi-year safety window put into them. And if it's a medication that you can't get otherwise and it's not replaceable, like calcium, there's not an alternative option, I think, for calcium, then it would be feasible to probably allow, we should look at our precedent, and I don't remember what we did 2 years ago, the last time we had this kind of come up, but we should probably allow a 1-year continuance on the expiration date. Didn't we just do that for Narcan? Or the states did that for Narcan?
So policy 1304 expressly prohibits that unless the FDA allows for an extension that they have on their website. And the only extensions they have on their website now are epinephrine, prefilled syringes with specific lot numbers, and propanol. Propanol? Yeah, I think is the only other one.
Kind of sad when you think about it.
I thought Narcan was on there, David. No?
They took it off. Remember it was on, and we had an allowance for it, and then there was some kind of a removal, as I recall, right, Bill?
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, but that being said, you're talking about ACLS. And so the presumption is you have a patient in extremis that's otherwise not going to get a medication that may or may not be life-saving depending on your take on ACLS medications. But what's the alternative if you can't get it anywhere else? That being said, I don't know if there's any strategy. I know some of those medicines are easily replaceable. NS, you can use LR, and we can, there's some equivalent medication that can be given. But for the medications that can't be given, or there's no equivalent, if we're not allowed to use expired meds, then the other question begets, does anybody have any kind of a supply that's shareable within the system?
So we've thought about that also, and that same policy, I urge everyone to go take a look at it because it addresses all these things by effectively hobbling us to the best that they possibly can. Where unless you have a specific kind of license to sell medications, that expressly prohibits all of those things. So
Trading? Not selling, but if one agency has 5 vials and another agency has 2, you can't. Honestly, who cares? I would just if we know that agencies have, one agency has enough medication and they have a supply and another agency doesn't, it would be, sort of.
We'll be Mike and I'll be trading paper IOUs over here, until things become available, and then cash them in, I guess. So I'd like to propose that, and I'm happy to be a part of this. Maybe a few of us can get together real quick, come up with an alternative list of what's available, put it out there, just because I want it to be legitimate and standardized and available that folks can refer to, agencies can refer to if they need. And it's not sort of Wild West, well, this seems like it would work, so that's what I used. And then, there being a problem with that, unless there's some other suggestion by anybody that it'd work.
I think that that's a good place to start. And first of all, Mark, thanks for getting Bernice to laugh this morning. She's having a good time with your comments. Because as you're talking about violating state, policy
That's
statements.
ridiculous.
But so as part of this process, right, Dave talks about, us notifying the region. Dave and I did that last week, notified the region that we're having shortage issues. I think that the next responsibility is that the region forwards it in writing to the state, right? Because we need state authorization maybe to make some of these changes, and certainly then they maybe need to push some of the stuff along to the FDA. So I think David's suggestion probably is a good a place to start. Certainly, we need the involvement of this entire group to develop that list to also come up with alternative medications. See what the shortages are. And then I think that it would be appropriate for the REMAC to get authorization to send it up to the SEMSCO as well, as well as the Bureau to start addressing some of these issues. Because obviously, Dr. Murphy mentioned this morning that she's even hearing about the normal saline thing. So that this isn't going to turn the corner. We're not going to, next Monday, this is not going to go away. And so I think we probably need to take some corrective action here, since we probably don't meet again now until June.
So the other thing we also have to pull up, Michael, is we addressed this at CMAC too. So we came with an advisory from CMAC regarding medication shortages. Maybe we can search the minutes and even ask Dr. Daly if he has them. But we did a whole section at CMAC on, because the medications advisories were hitting everybody, and the ability to substitute medications. We didn't talk about expiration dates. I kind of agree with Mark. I put it in writing, but it is a thing that is prohibitive. But again, we all know that expiration dates are put on things that are crazy, and do you really think the next day the stuff doesn't work? Yeah, let's make a little ad hoc committee to do this, and I'll volunteer to be on there with David and whoever else. But I'm pretty sure we had a bunch of stuff from CMAC on this too, and I'm sorry, it was pre-COVID though, I think.
Not to prolong the conversation, but just one other question. I don't remember. I feel like it's familiar to me in a way that, is there any ban on purchasing these not domestically? Like, does the FDA have a rule that says that you have to buy these supplies from a US company? Just because worldwide, ACLS medications are probably given in around the world, and it may be that other places can supply these things. Of course, there's always, I'm not saying we buy them from a small pharmacy in India or the Caribbean, but if there are other countries that routinely perform ACLS and don't have shortages, maybe with minimal expense, it's something that we could purchase. But I don't know, as something tells me that there's an FDA law saying that these can't, personal consumptive medications can be purchased outside of the US, but I don't know if we're limited as agencies. Anyone?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, Mark, to be honest. I don't know.
English, the UK's calcium chloride, but probably calcium chloride.
Maybe we can also put that for the committee, and we can do a little research to look at, because I actually don't have an answer for that. But I know that there was times people were, accessing Mexico for some of the chemotherapeutic agents, right? I mean, that was definitely happening.
Do we have to go there to do that? Because I'll sign up for that.
It's a trip.
We need to do that.
Nice.
Dave, you have access to planes as well, don't you?
All right. So we'll have more on that medication shortage process, and we'll fine tune a methodology here. Anything else, guys?
I had one question for Mr. Crutcher. I apologize if it was, I missed it. But are we creating a protocol where the SLAM score will be imported into the electronic PCR?
It will eventually be incorporated into the EPCR platforms, yes.
As in it'll be like a drop down for a particular call type and they'll have to enter their score. So in regards to the interim guidance, are we suggesting that people type it into their narrative, or how are we recommending people document around the
It depends
topic?
on the platform that's being used. Most platforms, when you get to the stroke score, it gives you Fast ED, Cincinnati. Some have SLAMs built in there, although it's called Los Angeles in those platforms. And they always give you a checkbox for other. Once you hit other, you'll be directed to yet another submenu so you can fill that in. But you should be able to record it without much of an issue.
Thank you.
Dr. Murphy, I have one other question, if it's okay.
Sure.
It's probably more old business, but one of my paramedics did bring up the fact that I think it was discussed at an earlier meeting that Sharon Hospital might not be on the approved list for the primary stroke or tertiary comprehensive stroke centers. And I just wanted to make sure that that was not in there, that we are on that list.
Yeah, so we had talked about we're going to have to look at all of our peripheral neighbors and get the exact criteria they fulfill and what designation they have, and make sure it makes it to the provider app under the collaborative agreement, so we know what people have the capacity to do.
Very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Anytime. Anything else, guys?
Hey, Pam, I have. Go ahead, John.
With the SLAMs, are they coming out with a pocket-sized card like they did with the MIST? Do we know? I've had a couple of agencies ask, or should they just print them out on their own?
Yeah, not that I know of. I don't know if anybody else has any more information than I do, but not that I know of. It would be something someone have to print out.
David Jensen said Vassar may be making some.
Okay.
But
Dr. Murphy, this is Dave Jensen. I am trying to work with our neurology science division to come up with a badge buddy to be able to provide to EMS.
Nice. Do it by May, and then you can be your EMS gift. That'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
As long as Dr. Arshad's Bitcoins will pay for it, I'm good for it.
There we go. All right. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, Pam, I just wanted to bring up a topic that in the governor's budget right now, there is some changes that are listed there for Article 30, which affects EMS and how it operates in the field, and actually REMAX and SEMSCOs and CMAX and REMSCOs. So they're looking at it. It's in the budget. It's Part F of mental health, if anybody's interested. And I do have copies of it if anybody is interested in that. But it does make some changes, and they're kind of broad sweep changes of the authority and who has that authority. And it makes changes to CON actions and some other actions that we take and some other authority that we have. So we're waiting right now. I believe there's a 30-day adjustment to that budget, which I have not seen the details of that. I've been trying to find that. But there might be some stuff if the budget goes into effect on April 1st that might affect us, and we might see some changes coming out of that, just so that everyone's aware of it.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
There is one other thing I don't know if we mentioned at our last meeting that I want to bring up. The SEMSCO had a tag that it created EMS in crisis. I don't know if we want to get an update on that. I know they've been meeting, and I don't know if Michael wants to give us an update of that.
Thank you. So we have been meeting. There's a lot of really good forward progress on the group. The goal is by July 1 of this year is to write a paper with regards to EMS crisis in New York State. What we've done is broken into a lot of subgroups, working subgroups. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but we have one on agencies, we have one on hospitals, we have one on operations, we have one on identifying the problem, one on education, one on government and public. And so all of those groups are currently looking at a variety of topics, multiple topics each, probably 15 topics each. We're going to hold a meeting of the subgroup chairs at the SEMSCO meeting in April, and then start to pull the topics together. Lots of those topics cross over the multiple different groups. So we're trying to get our arms around, what the challenges are, as well as some opportunities for system changes. Bill mentioned Article F, which also is very interesting and comes at at the same time as the EMS sustainability tag. And then there's also the rural EMS group that should be picking up some steam. We really expect them to pick up over the next couple of months, and hopefully they'll then dovetail what the work of the EMS sustainability tag has done. So a lot of this is about recognition and what some of our opportunities to get EMS in New York State under control. And I'm very pleased with the progress that we've made so far, and look forward to more work.
Great. And all these things are so important. I think that sometimes we forget, and we're always doing all the clinical stuff, and we forget about all the really important stuff to protect everybody, take care of everybody, and make sure people are doing all right. That's the bottom line. All right, thank you. Anything else, or I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. A second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Dr. Rashad. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. I know your time is precious. We appreciate all the input. And again, see you soon. Thanks again. The next meeting is, I forget. I don't have it down.
June 13th.
All right, June 13th. See you then, everyone. Thank you so much.